So, sometimes what I like to do when I'm bored is go onto my favourite childhood game, Minecraft, and play a game called The Lab on the official Hive server. And not to toot my own horn or anything, but I like to think I'm actually pretty good at it. In fact, I've actually had a few people asking on how my win rate is so good on the game, and I've also had a couple of salty people here and there calling me out for hacking. So I thought to myself, it's clear that people want to get better at this game, and perhaps I should come clean on how I tend to perform so well. In this video, I will be going over the best tips in every current minigame in the lab. As of now, there are 13 experiments that are available to play. In alphabetical order, these minigames are
Balloon Pop, Breaking Blocks, Catastrophic Failure, Crazy Paint, Dodgeball, Electric Floor, Fight, Gold Rush, RC Pig Racing, Rocket Race, Build a Snowman, Splegg, and Whack-A-Mob.
Cheers, Suzuki boy. In addition to these 13 games, whilst going through the game's files, I managed to find files for another 10 whole games which were planned for the lab but never even actually made it into the final cut, along with an experiment which actually used to be in the game but had to be removed. If you want to see all of these, make sure to stick around until the end of the video. Anyway, with all of that said, let's get you becoming a top-notch scientist. What the heck is this guy doing?
Balloon Pop!
In Balloon Pop, there are 3 types of blocks you can shoot with your arrows. Wool blocks, gold blocks, and finally TNT blocks. What you should hopefully know is that each block gives off a different amount of points. Each wool block is worth 1 point, each gold block is worth 2 points, and each TNT block is worth a whopping 10 to 15 points. However, there are only a certain amount of them. Bearing this in mind, you always want to try and hit the TNT first before other players get to it. This way, you are guaranteeing yourself a shed load of points, whilst denying an equivalent amount to other players. What you do once you can't spot any more TNT comes down to preference. You can either shoot close-up wool blocks for quick and easy points, or, if you are more confident with your aim, go spend a little bit more time hunting for gold blocks. What I tend to do after the TNT has been exploded is shoot the nearby balloons and shoot at gold blocks once I see them. If you follow these tips I've just mentioned, you should at least be well on your way to hitting the top 3 every time.
Breaking Blocks!
In breaking blocks, you need to know that the best way you will score points will be through the TNT, so mining enough gold blocks will be extremely important. If you don't mine any gold blocks throughout the round, there is no way you can win, and perhaps it will be impossible to even get in the top 3. After acknowledging the importance of TNT, you want to use all 5 you start with immediately. Why? Well, how TNT works is that it calculates how many blocks was destroyed by it and then multiplies it by a number about 10. For example, if you broke 15 blocks with your TNT, you'd get about 150 points. Using it at the very start ensures you don't miss any blocks and guarantees you huge points right off the bat. After you have used your 5 TNT, you always want to pick up your shovel and mine dirt. Mining stone or wood will get you nowhere, as it takes so much longer and you don't even get any extra bonus points for doing so. The trick to this game is to mine dirt constantly, and whenever you see a gold block, rush towards it before anyone else does to collect your 5 TNT. Then, when you get the TNT, you want to use it in places with lots of blocks. In conclusion, lots of dirt, lots of gold blocks, and lots of boom booms is the key to getting a high score. Now, go break some blocks and do me proud.
Catastrophic Failure!
Catastrophic Failure. This is by far my least favourite game out of them all. The thing is with Catastrophic Failure is that it is almost entirely RNG based. If you don't know what I mean by that, then I mean random number generation based. If you don't know what I mean by that, then honestly, you just have to get lucky. Which is what I hate about this game. Your actions do have an influence on the results, however not greatly. Unfortunately, I can't give you many tips on a game which requires good luck, but there is one reason why I do tend to get in the top 3 when playing this game. Although I didn't do it in this footage, if you hide in a corner for about the first 5 seconds of the game, you should be safe for that period. This is mainly because the creepers that appear from the spawners don't do so until 15 seconds after the experiment has actually started. In addition, naturally, it is more likely you will receive less damage from TNT if you hug the wall for the majority of the minigame. Why? Because if you go through the middle, you can get hit by 4 directions. When you are hugging the wall, you can get hit by only 3. Apart from that, I really can't say much more apart from, if you see TNT, run for your life, and good luck out there.
Crazy Paint!
In Crazy Paint, there is one major trick to winning, or at least achieving a solid 2nd or 3rd place, and that is to shoot up high, however a little bit below the roof on the wall, where I'm shooting in the footage. For some reason, nobody ever seems to paint here. It's almost like they are oblivious it is actually paintable. Until now, I guess. What have I done? Anyway, you basically just want to keep shooting here. If there happens to be somebody else's paint nearby, paint over it. Assert dominance. You'll be denying them score and only gaining score yourself. Once you finish painting around below the roof, you're better off painting the ceiling. Once you finish painting the ceiling, there really shouldn't be much time left. So from here, you may as well just frantically paint the walls over other people's colours to claim it for yourself. One more really important thing, rather than holding the button to shoot automatically, you really want to spam click. Although it doesn't make a major difference, the paintballs still do come out quicker and would put you at an advantage over others. And a free advantage is always most certainly worth taking.
Dodgeball!
Not going to lie, I do kind of feel bad for making a guide on how to be good at dodgeball, because honestly, the way to win is to be really cheap. However, I'm going through it anyway because, well, it works. When you start off, you want to hope you spawn in one of 4 corners of the map. As you can see in the footage, I got one of the worst spawn points, being surrounded by people from all directions. Because of this, I ended up taking a few hits at the start. If this happens, you just have to loop around parts of the map in hopes of losing the people who are chasing you. Once you are successful, you want to come here in one of 4 corners of the map with these iron blocks with a single cobble fence. And guess what it's time to do? That's right, it's time to shift and hide until the time is up. What's good is that you can see if people are coming from both directions, whilst they'd have no idea where you were. If you ever get found, then all you can really do is run and try to dodge and weave as much as possible. Although this sounds silly, another really important thing to note is that this is dodgeball, not hit your opponent in the face as many times as possible whilst they do the same to you, ball. I say this because some people think you score points by hitting opponents, when really, that's not the case at all. It's actually the opposite. This is why the shifting strat works so well, because nobody knows where you are. How are you going to get hit if no one knows where you are?
Electric floor!
It's electric floor next, and to be truthful, there isn't any huge master tip to winning this game, apart from don't touch the red blocks. Everyone tends to have their own way of playing this game, so perhaps I should share with you my personal way of playing. As soon as the game starts, without sprinting, I walk around the edge of the map. Over time, you will notice people starting to drop like flies, and all you can really do is keep walking whilst avoiding red blocks wherever possible. Once there are about 5 players left is where I start sprint jumping. I do this because when there are only a few players left is also when the players will start trying to catch out other players by running in front of them, and of course you become vulnerable to this if you are only walking. When sprinting or sprint jumping, you have to have good reactions and also acknowledge where the other remaining players are so they don't suddenly catch you out by surprise. If you're still in at this point, you should just eventually win as time passes, unless you mess up somewhere. Even if you do, I'd still be happy with 2nd or 3rd place. In conclusion, let's hope you've got happy feet.
Fight!
Before this minigame starts, I should probably say that somebody in this game was in fact using a hack client. I imagine you'd be able to tell who it is very shortly. And so, let me tell you this. The way to win this game is most certainly not to use a hack client. You may win the minigame once or twice, but then never be able to play it again due to you being banned. Anyway, Fight is actually broken. I say this because in the game you can collect power-ups to give you advantages over your opponents. However, there is one power-up which is overpowered over the rest, and that is the Strength power-up, which is located in 2 sides of the map and is yellow in colour. Usually you would take about 8 hits with a wooden sword to kill somebody. With the Strength power-up active, you can kill them in just 3. Not only this, but you can literally just one-hit people if they are below about 4 hearts. What a good tactic is to stay at the Strength power-up, collect it, and for about 10 seconds go off and interrupt a huge fight between players and literally kill them all before going back to the power-up again as it respawns. Now that I think of it, how bad would it be if the player using the hack client in this game actually bothered to collect the Strength power-ups? It would make it even more impossible to win.
Gold Rush!
In Gold Rush, you want to build momentum. The tip to this minigame is to go through a cycle at one of 4 corners of the map. There tends to be bigger heaps of gold in the corners than anywhere else, and it is where you can cycle through gold efficiently. What I mean when I say this is that you can collect lots of gold from one heap, then switch to another big heap of gold, and then another big heap of gold before switching back to the gold you first mined originally. If that makes sense. If you keep doing this, you will mine infinite gold at a fairly quick pace, and hopefully you will do so quicker than any other player. What I found in this video was that quite a lot of people got in my way when I attempted to mine the gold, so it is probably a good idea to be up close to the gold when you mine it. This way, it prevents you losing your momentum and it won't screw with your cycle as much, so as a whole, go to the corners and mine, mine, mine.
RC Pig Racing!
In pig racing, there is one crucial tip you need to know which will help you win a lot more often, and that is simply to practice. You need to get used to how far you need to move your fingers if you decide to use the keyboard to play, and you need to get used to how much you need to scroll to click each box in your hotbar if you decide to play with your mouse. Personally, I tend to perform a lot better when I scroll with my mouse wheel, so I use this. In addition, before the game starts, I always go to one of the two back corners and face the floor. This way, I won't be distracted by anything. For example, if I looked up to see where my pig was, I'd simply just be wasting time. And every second counts in this game. Although saying this, you don't want to rush. Sometimes rushing can cost you the game, and even your top 3 spots, as you can accidentally click the apple rather than the emerald, sending you to the very start, which at that point is just game over. Especially as sometimes the apple can spawn next to the emerald, so be careful. Just relax, focus, and let that piggy run.
Rocket Race!
It's time for Rocket Race, and there is one big trick to performing well in this game. That is to always mine the ores closest to you first, and then mine the ones further away on the surface last. Getting the close ones first means you are denying your opponents the fuel they need to climb the leaderboard, meaning you will be at an advantage. After this, you want to start collecting ores further away, yet they should still be on the surface. This is because digging for fuel will just take longer, especially when you do not know where the ores will actually be. The only times you should go for the fuel below the surface is if they are actually visible. Otherwise, always go for the fuel on the surface. Trust me. Oh, and another thing. Don't do what I do in this footage, which is make a minor mistake by delivering the fuel to the incorrect tank. It just wastes time. So try not to do that.
Build a snowman!
In Snowman, or Build a Snowman, once again there is in fact a trick which should guarantee yourself a top 3 finish, if not that, a win. When the minigame starts off, you want to start mining pumpkins first. This is because there are less pumpkins than snow, and there will likely be the most pumpkins right off the bat for you to collect. You want to collect pumpkins for a whole 45 seconds, essentially until you have a further 45 seconds remaining. Although I don't do it in the footage, you should always have your shovel out when mining the pumpkins, as it allows you to collect some snow between each one, which saves a little bit of time. You want to frantically start shoveling with snow until you have double the amount of snow blocks than pumpkins. This is obviously because to make a snowman, you need 2 snow blocks and only 1 pumpkin. This should leave you about 30 seconds to start making as many snowmen as quickly as possible. If you manage to create the maximum you can make with all the resources you have collected, you should hopefully find yourself at the top of the leaderboard to claim your cool and easy victory.
Splegg!
You see, I'm not very good at Splegg. I'm not going to lie here. It's one of my weaknesses when it comes to the lab. As a result of this, I can't give many tips apart from one which some people will probably already know, and that is to run around the map where there is a platform underneath you. This means that if you mess up parkour, or get splegged, then you are still in the game, whilst if you run around the very edge of the map, if you happen to fall down, you would miss both the layers beneath and just straight up be eliminated. Apart from that, what else can I say apart from try not to fall down? Your parkour skills need to be on point for this game, so good luck, and my sincerest apologies for not being a great help here. Hang on a second. Joke him? Where have I seen that name before? Global number 5? Out of 3 million users? I'm global number 944, and this lad is global number 5? I'm sorry, but can we talk about this for a second? I suck. Oh, well, okay then.
Whack-a-mob!
And last, but by certainly no means least, we have one of my strongest games of the set, Whack-a-Mob. This game requires lots of practice with your bow aim. Similarly to Balloon Pop, there are 3 ways you can score points: shooting close-up monsters, shooting middle monsters, and shooting far-away monsters. And the close monsters give off the least points, whilst the far monsters give off the most points respectively. Taking this to mind, there is one way you can get first place almost every single time, and that is to only focus on the monsters furthest away to receive lots of points. However, these monsters will require you to not only be accurate, but also rather quick on the draw, as other players will indeed be looking to hunt these down too. When you hit a monster, you will hear a ding, which is the signal to focus on your next one. If you keep shooting the far monsters, you are guaranteed to do as well as I do here, winning by a mile. Happy shooting, and good luck. Anyway, those are my top tips on how to be a master on every current experiment in the lab. Hopefully, now you are well on your way to becoming a #1 scientist. If ever you see me in-game, make sure to say hello. I am active fairly frequently, as my goal is to climb the leaderboards to at least the global top 100, and it may be a while until I do so. My in-game name is ArcticWolf28, so let's chat if you see me on. Anyway, this video isn't exactly over yet. At the start, I promised to show you guys some secret files for the games that were planned for the lab but didn't quite make the cut. So, here we go. When I was going through the lab resource pack, I found files which I then converted to music files, which consisted of our trusty friend Dr. Zook exclaiming 10 planned experiments that didn't exactly see the bright of day. In alphabetical order, these 10 experiments are:
Lasers, Lucky Crates, Master Chef, Maze Runner, Mob Hunter, Motion Sensors, the 3D Printer, Scavenger, Shockmania, and Stop and Shop.
I really do think it is a shame that these were never implemented into the game, as they honestly do sound really cool, every single one of them. There is also a game that used to be in the game, but as said earlier, it had to be removed, and that one game is
Boat Wars!
It's a good thing that I coincidentally have a privated YouTube video of me playing the lab back in 2015, as it just so happened that one of the minigames I played was in fact Boat Wars. It's just a shame the quality is really low, and the render distance of the game is awful, as I had a very slow PC back in the day. However, the point of the game was that you were in a boat with a bow, surrounded by lots of water, a few islands, and all of the other players. The objective was to shoot your opponent's boats to destroy them, and you would get 1 point for every successfully destroyed boat. The player with the most points after 90 seconds was declared the winner. Why this game was removed, I'm not entirely sure. My assumption is that it had to be removed as properties of boats were tweaked slightly in newer versions of Minecraft, which possibly meant Boat Wars was no longer playable in the way it was initially intended. However, that is just a semi-logical guess. Anyway, with all of that said, it is time to finally wrap up the video. Thank you very much for watching this guide. Lots of hours went into making this video for you gamers, and I would really appreciate it if you were to like the video and possibly even share it with your friends. Maybe you are the generous type and would even consider subscribing to help me create more content like this. Once again, many thanks for watching, and I'll see all of you in the lab.